Erev Tov Rabotai, we are continuing with our Mishna Yomi Masechet Orlah. We are up to Perek Gimel Mishnah Vav. Today's Mishnayot should be Leilu Nishmat, Neria ben Tzvedlana, Aranbayev, and Eliyahu ben Burchai Israelov, Minuchatam beGan Eden, Amen. We know as an introduction, the laws of Kilei Kerem, climb of the vineyard, are similar to those of Orlah. Both Orlah and Kilei Kerem must be burned, like we learned in the Mishnayot Masechet Terumah, chapter 7, Mishnah 5. Both are forbidden for benefit, like we learned in our Mishnayot chapter 3, Mishnah 1, and both become nullified only in a mixture of 200 to 1, like we saw earlier in chapter 2, Mishnah 1. The Mishnah now deals with nullifying bundles of Kilei Kerem. If someone has bundles of fenugreek that were forbidden as Kilei Kerem, they must be burned. Again, fenugreek we spoke about earlier is a herb with edible leaves. Its seeds are used as a spice. Now, the fenugreek had to be planted together with or next to grapevines, which caused it to become forbidden as Kilei Kerem. It was then collected and tied in bundles. A bundle consists of at least 25 stalks. The Mishnah says they would have to be burned. Nitarvu ba'acherim. If any of these bundles became mixed with other bundles of fenugreek, kulam yidalku divibimeir. They must all be burned, even if there were 200 or more bundles of permitted fenugreek. These are the words of Rabbi Meir, because Rabbi Meir says a bundle of fenugreek is something significant according to Rabbi Meir, and therefore it cannot become nullified, because a bundle of fenugreek is a davar shebeminyan, an item sold by units rather than by estimate. People do not sell a basket of fenugreek, a basket of bundles, rather they charge separately for each bundle. So according to Rabbi Meir, any item which on account of its significance is sold by the unit cannot become nullified. But the sages say, Ya'alu be'had u'matayim, they become nullified in a mixture of 201, meaning 200 permitted bundles to one forbidden one. The sages do not consider a davar shebeminyan, an item sold by the unit, so significant that it cannot become nullified, and therefore even bundles of a fenugreek can be nullified by a margin of 200 to 1, the margin that applies to Kilei Kerem. That is the Rabotai of Mishnah Vav. Mishnah Zayin now explains the basis of the dispute, the machloket between Rabbi Meir and the Chachamim in this Mishnah. It's also the basis of the dispute of Rabbi Meir and the sages in the first two Mishnayot of the chapter. Shaya Rabbi Meir Omer. It's like a continuation of Mishnah Vav. For Rabbi Meir would say, something that is customarily counted when it's sold and not merely estimated prohibits the mixture into which it falls, right? If, due to its importance, people sell it by an exact count of the pieces and not merely by estimating how many there are, it prohibits the mixture into which it falls, Rabbi Meir says. Now, the Mishnah uses the word mikadesh to mean prohibit, based on the verse in the Torah in Sefer Dvarim, chapter 22, Mishnah 9, that uses this term to describe the Isur, the prohibition of Kilei Kerem. According to the Rambam's commentary, the Torah uses the word tikadesh, literally tikdash, sanctifies, to indicate that the mixture must be burned. V'chachamim omrim, but the sages say, eno mekadesh ela shisha dvarim bilvad. Only 6 items prohibit the mixture into which they fall without becoming nullified. The Rabbi Akiva Omer, and Rabbi Akiva says, 7 items do so. And the Mepharshim explain, the sages and Rabbi Akiva disagree with Rabbi Meir. They hold that even something sold by a precise count is not important enough to prevent it from being nullified. The item must be particularly special to qualify as a davar chashuv, an item of significance. The items the Mishnah will now list are large, expensive, and the most outstanding of their species. Right now we're going to say the 6 items referred to by the Chachamim and the one added by Rabbi Akiva. Ve'eluhem. And these are the 6 items. Egoze ferech, the walnuts of ferech. Rimone badan, the pomegranates of badan. Again, perech and badan, the Rav says, were names of places. Vechaviyot stumot, sealed barrels of wine. Vechulfot teradin, leaves of beets, meaning the leaves and long stalks that grow out of the beetroot. Now, certain varieties of beets have large leaves that grow from long, colorful stalks that emerge from the beetroot. These leaves and stalks are used as food. That's one of the items. The kultzei chruv, stalks of cabbage, meaning the stems with their leaves. In other words, heads of cabbage. The cabbages of Eretz Yisrael, the Rav tells us, were very large and very tasty. Udlat Yivanit and the Greek gourd. Rabbi Akiva says, Av kikarot shel balabait, also the loaves of a balabait, of a householder, because according to Rabbi Akiva, the Mefarshim explain, the loaves of a householder are larger than the loaves of a baker, and the householder uses finer flour, which results in a better quality bread. Now, if any of these 7 items were forbidden and became mixed with similar items, they do not become nullified, and Mishnah is going to explain how these 7 items became forbidden. The ones in this list that were fit to be Orlah were forbidden as Orlah. The ones that were fit to be Kilei Kerem were forbidden as Kilei Kerem. What does this mean? The Mefarshim explain, of the 7 foods listed above, the first 3, which were walnuts of Perech, pomegranates of Badan, and the grapes of the sealed barrels of wine, they are fit to be Orlah since they grow on trees. The next 3, which are the beet leaves, heads of cabbage, Greek gourds, they are vegetables and cannot be Orlah, but they can become forbidden as Kilei Kerem by being planted in a vineyard. Now, Kilei Kerem applies only to grains and vegetables planted in a vineyard, not to fruit trees planted there, as the Rambam tells us in the Chod Kilayim, chapter 5, Halacha 6. Wine, which come from grapes, can be subject to both Kilei Kerem and Orlah. Now, the Mefarshim explain the 7 items mentioned in our Mishnah were of special significance in Eretz Yisrael in the times of the Mishnah. Items of equal importance in other places or times are similarly not subject to bitul, to nullification. The Mishnah listed these 7 items because they were always considered especially important in times of the Mishnah, as the Rambam writes in Hilchot Ma'achalot Asurot, chapter 16, Halacha 9, and as it's brought down in Shulchan Aruch, Chelek Yor De'ah, Siman 110, Halacha 1. That is Rabotai of today's Mishna Yomi. The Rav does tell us, Ven halacha ki Rabbi Meir, velo ki Rabbi Akiva. The halacha does not follow Rabbi Meir, and the halacha does not follow Rabbi Akiva. The halacha follows the sages that only 6 items prohibit the mixture into which they fall without becoming nullified. That is Rabotai of today's Mishna Yomi. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen v'amen.